Hello, it's Paul Valencia from Clark County today. Tony Liberator from Fort Vancouver.
Merry Christmas.
The
Happy
Fort
New Year.
Vancouver.
Feliz Navidad.
I should say the Fort Vancouver High School.
Fort Vancouver
Not
High School.
Not Fort
Wow,
Vancouver.
you're actually from the Fort Vancouver?
Yeah, because I was going to say, that would be really weird if you were actually at Fort Vancouver.
Hey, I have a history degree. Maybe I'm combining both
Quantum
things.
leap.
That's
Quantum
great.
leap.
I love
yeah,
that.
Just,
History, yeah. He's got a history.
We'll come make some
All right.
hardtack and skin some raccoon.
Also here, as always, is Cale Pyland, the athletic director for all Evergreen Public Schools.
Hello, everybody.
So, Merry Christmas, everybody. We are going to, we got a lot of stuff to talk about this week, and we are recording this on, what is this date? December 18th, so it'll probably post December 19th. So, yeah, Merry Christmas, everybody. And getting ready for the holiday break for you people who work in schools, right? When is the holiday break?
Last day's Friday.
Okay, so Friday. Oh, but then it's weird. You get kind of close up to Christmas, but then you have a longer break. You don't come back till, was it the Monday after that weekend? Because New Year's and Christmas
Yeah,
are
the
on
way the
Wednesday.
weekends work this year, you get
some time off after New Year's Day.
Yeah, so, well...
which is always appreciated.
Well done. I'm sure you guys deserve it. Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Gregorian lunar calendar.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, today we're gonna review high school football and the state championship games. I know it didn't work out for Seton Catholic and Camas as far as who won, but they still made it to the finals, and it was a great experience for everyone there. So we're going to review the football games. We're also going to go into there are a bunch of amendments from the WIAA that are going to be voted on. Cale, is it
April?
In April.
Yep. But
They've announced what the amendments are, and there's a lot of them. There's a lot that we won't get into because some of them are deep in the weeds of stuff that, I'm not even sure people from the WIA care about some of these things, but no. But there's a lot of them, though, that have some interest to everybody, including some politically charged ones, and we're going to talk a little bit about those. We'll get into that, and we'll talk some college sports and college playoff coming up, and all. You guys can laugh at me at my Raiders, but 2-14, but we're competitive 2-14. Well, I don't know.
Well, I mean, yeah,
we competed and had a chance to win this last game, and it was.
Yeah,
I think 10 people watched it on TV because there were 2 Monday Night Football games and that. So I'm guessing they didn't watch that, but I was there.
There's
darn
some
it.
fantasy playoff implications, I'm sure, for some folks.
Did anyone have any Falcons or Raiders on their fantasy team other than a kicker?
In my league, Jacoby Myers was
Oh my goodness!
He didn't have a catch through 3 quarters, and that was a 1-point game.
Yeah.
So
well, if anybody had Kirk Cousins, they don't have him anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So hey, let's get to real football.
Right.
Sorry to my Raiders and Raider Nation, but let's get to real football. Camas versus Sumner, 4A state championship game. One of the best games I've ever seen at the championship for a championship. This game was tied at 7, 14, and 24, and of course Sumner won on the last play of the game. And I was just wondering, first of all, your thoughts, Cale, on another Clark County team making it to the finals, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's that in and of itself is a heck of an accomplishment, and having experienced a state championship game with success and a state championship game where we came up short. Obviously, the success is feels a little bit better, but once you get some time to reflect, and I'm sure that the paper makers and Coach Matheson, as they work through that, I mean, you're one of 2 teams that were left playing on the last day of the season, and there's no shame in that at all.
Nope. Tony?
Yeah, first, congratulations, Coach Matheson and the paper makers, and just, that GSHL pride that I always pub on here.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's good. I wish the county would have had one of those or both of those. But, excellent seasons, though. We can't.
Yeah,
Kel's right.
Same sentiment to Coach Chase and Seton Catholic.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was going to separate the games, but for finishing second, Seton Catholic also finished second in the Class 1A game on the Friday night, and that game wasn't as close, but it was close at halftime. Yeah. It was 21-all at halftime. Right. That was a remarkable feat, and we'll get into that in a second too. Yeah. Or did you have something on that, Cale?
No.
Okay, got it. All right. So the Camas Sumner game, though, just a couple specifics. There was an incredible goal line stand by the paper makers in that game, and it turned out, as I say in the football world, it really didn't turn into a goal line stand. If Camas wins that game, it's the greatest goal line stand in Camas football history. I mean, it's first and goal from the 1, and it was 4 plays, and it was I think it was a gain of nothing, and then it was a loss of 2, and then it was a loss of 2, and then it was a pass on 4th down. They decided to go for it, and Sumner did, and the pass rush was incredible. The quarterback threw to a guy who was on the 3-yard line, and he got crushed immediately. I mean, this was like movie-like type of goal line stand. But what I love about football is that even when you don't score, you kind of score, because then the Sumner defense gets a 3-and-out from right there.
Yeah.
So Camas punts, and Sumner has the ball in scoring position basically immediately, and then Sumner did score.
Which is some of the rationale to go for it on 4th down, right? Because of where you're going to leave your opponent.
Right, and so I just love that part of the game within the game. And the last time Camas won a state title, they actually did the same type of thing where they won by all 3 phases. It was their punt team that did a great punt, downed it on the 1 or 2 yard line, and the defense got a 3-and-out, and then the offense scored. So it's kind of weird, 5 years later. It wasn't a punt in this case; it was a goal line. But it's just one of those things that it's still a great goal line stand, and I'll never forget it because I got to be on the sidelines for this one, and so I'm right there. I got some videos of all those plays, and it was inspiring to watch the defense do it. But it's also part of the Sumner won the game because they got it to the 1 in the first place, even if they didn't score on that one. I think that part of it is fascinating. As a coach, as coaches, what do you guys think of things like that?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's so many things that go when a game is that closely contested. There's going to be so many, the margin for error and just the way things that fall that have a huge impact on what the outcome of that game is. One of the things that I think about from that game, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was on the game-winning drive for Sumner. They faked a punt.
Yes.
And
yes.
That their head coach Keith Ross attempted to. So a lot of times when you're running a fake punt, there'll be a kill call. Like you'll come out and you'll look and go, oh no, this look isn't what we thought we were going to get, so this isn't going to work. Well, he's trying to kill the fake punt. They don't hear him. They run the fake punt and they get it.
Yes.
Right. So I mean, so I mean that in and of itself, when is just nuts. That things like that have such a huge impact. And as the head coach, he was literally they were going to punt the ball. If he had gotten his wish, they would have punted the ball, and they didn't hear him, and they needed to pick him the first down and going down and win the game.
It was 4th and what on the fake punt, do you know?
I don't
4th
recall.
and 3 and 4. 4th and 3. It wasn't 4th and 1. And it was from their own end, own part of the field. I don't have
it
would
have set Camus up very nicely.
Okay. Yeah, Camus.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
Little Dan Campbell then.
It was with the
at least Camus didn't know the fake punt was coming as opposed to the onside kick.
Yeah. Exactly. But that was incredible. And Tony, do you want to talk about a little bit before I get to my next point on that?
Right. And we talk a lot about on here just about the coaching points and everything. And when Kel was talking about a month ago, we talked about how to getting to this far in the playoffs. That stuff's adjusted, and I mean that's implemented in August, and then just the game prep by the kids because the coaches are prepared through film and whatever means. But that's what I like about that high level of football like that. You've mentioned twice how close competitively it was.
Yes.
And it is those little things, and you go back, it is something they prepped in August. I guarantee it. Yeah. Right. And that's what it is. That's why you do it.
I don't think Adam Matheson would mind me saying that, in the week leading up to the championship game, he told me, he goes, we have this great offense, and we have the state player, the Gatorade player of the year, and their quarterback. And Sumner scares the heck out of me. Their defense is so flipping good. If our defense is good, they're almost as good, that kind of thing. So he knew it was going to be close. And so Camus's defense shines in that goal line stand, but then Sumner does the exact same thing, 3-and-out, and forces a punt. But Adam was not lying to me when he said, no, this is a toss-up, and I love. He's been like that for me forever. He's never been one of those coaches who will tell me, oh, this game's going to be close when you're going to win by 50. The Lou Holtz of the Lou Holtz for any old timer out there.
The best opponent we've seen all year.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. He's never done that to me. He's always been honest with me as his assessment of a game going into it, and he was right on. But another thing that's just crazy. And I have a good friend of mine who was at the game, and he's a dad of one of the younger players on the team. But hey, his son got to suit up, so that was great. But he wasn't sure. At the very end of it, like 2 plays before the game-winning field goal, Sumner fumbled the ball. And he wasn't sure if the refs ruled it a fumble or didn't even rule it a fumble because it was kind of a little bit confusing. I was right there. He fumbled. I actually saw the fumble come out. It was hard to see, but also the official did throw the blue, what do they call that? The
spotter.
The
beanie.
The blue beanie, so the official saw the fumble. It was a fumble. So I looked at my video later in the night, and this is the 50-50 thing. This game goes to overtime if Camas recovers the fumble or Camas loses 2 plays later. The Camas guy, one of the Camas guys, he actually landed on the ball on his backside, we'll say.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. No,
it wasn't a butt fumble, but it was a butt recovery.
Yeah. But my point, I mean, now he had no idea the ball was out
Right.
yet, but I'm just telling you that's how crazy this was, is that the ball can be it's anyone's ball in a script. At first I thought maybe Camas recovered it and that Sumner stole it under the pile, because all the Camas players who were rushing to that area thought they got the ball. Because again, their guy landed on the ball, but their guy who landed on the ball didn't even know there was a fumble because he had just he had helped make the tackle, and the ball he lands on them, and then the ball squirts out, and then it's anyone's ball, and of course Sumner gets it, and that's how close we were to an overtime game.
Wow.
And it's just but no, there was a fumble on the play if there was any confusion, and the officials saw it, but Sumner recovered. I think it was the running back himself who got the ball back, which so. Anyway, and then we'll switch from Friday night. On Friday night at Husky Stadium with Seton Catholic, it was 21-all at halftime, which, if you follow 1A football, that was an accomplishment. Royal is now what 5 in a row? Is it 5 championships in a row?
I still can't remember. I think it was 4, but yeah.
And none of their games are close. The last 2 years, none of them have been close. Now, this game didn't turn out to be close, but it was close for a half.
Right.
And as I was watching it, I thought Royal made a lot of mistakes in the first half, fumbles and weird stuff was going on. But you know the deal. The longer it's a close game, the longer there's a chance you lose.
Yeah,
so,
you stay in it and you start believing you're not going to win the game.
So congratulations, Seton, on giving Royal a scare. How about that? Is a scare the right word?
Fair enough.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Fair enough. So cool. All right. So Husky Stadium, you guys have not been there yet for the state championship games?
Not for a high school game.
No. Yeah. And so that was my first experience for state championship. I'd been there a couple of times. I think Evergreen played the year after you won the state title, didn't you?
We played the Seahawks.
Seahawks. No, okay. All right. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, who played? Then did somebody played from around here? Camas might have played. At Husky Stadium.
Did they move that
the Emerald City kickoff coverage.
They did at one point move that, and when they were still doing it, at one point they moved it to UW. Yeah.
Okay, so I think Camas might have played at the Emerald City kickoff. And there's less people for that thing because it's it's not a state championship.
We don't know if anybody's any good. It's the first week of the season. Yeah.
So that was my only experience of a high school game at Husky Stadium. Was
Okay.
Was before that. So I will say that it is a very loud crowd. It was much louder than I anticipated, even though there's 70,000 empty seats. And the players, we've always talked about this. The players love it no matter what. I still prefer a more intimate setting. I prefer, if there's 10,000 people there, I want it to be in a 15,000 seater, stadium or 20,000. Yeah. Yeah. So, but it was louder on the field. It was an exciting atmosphere. So I applaud the WIAA for making it happen at Husky Stadium the last couple of years.
Good
deal.
All right, now let's go to amendments. Dun, dun, dun. No. Several amendments. But before we get to the specific amendments we're going to talk to today, Cale, I was hoping you could take us through the process of how voting works. Now, the voting will happen in April, right?
Correct.
But I wanted to know, does a school district vote for a school district, or do the schools vote individually, and do you guys vote as a block for Evergreen Public Schools, for example? And then Tony, the same thing for Vancouver Public Schools. I know you're not part of right. You're a former athletic director, not an athletic director anymore, but would it be the same at Vancouver Schools, that type of thing?
Yep.
So Cale?
So each school each league, I should say, has a representative to District 4, and then from District 4 to the rep assembly for the voting. So myself, I represent the 4As in that vote, and Tom Adams from Battleground represents the 3As. the league itself votes on these amendments. So they are not directed how to vote. So each school within the league gets a vote. And then from there, whatever those results are, Tom and I go to District 4 and we vote how the GSHL has voted at District 4. And then based off of what that vote is, we are directed by District 4 when we go to when we have the Rep Assembly vote. We are dictated to how we're required to vote based off of what the results are through the District 4 process. And this is all part of our bylaws within District 4. Mm-hmm. So I can't specifically say how each other district, WIAA geographical district, votes, whether they vote how their league votes per se, which in some cases we could, and I won't get into the weeds, but basically if the majority of whatever District 4 votes as, that is then what we're required to as District 4 representatives to vote at Rep Assembly. So I don't personally vote how I would want to vote. In fact, I don't have a vote at all because I don't represent a school.
Got it.
So it's building athletic directors who vote for the GSHL, and then Tom and I represent that when we go to District 4, and then we represent District 4 when we go to Rep Assembly.
And because Vancouver Public Schools are part of GSHL, I'm sure it's the same
it's
process, right, Tony?
So it's not like Kel was saying, it's not the district, it's the league that's the driver.
Mm-hmm.
And then even think of the 4 comprehensive high schools in Vancouver, right? There's a 4A, there's 2 2As, and a 1A. So
for you
the
guys,
4 comprehensive high schools,
Yeah.
right? And so
schools, right.
so there's 3 different leagues,
Right.
So that's how it just is. It's just put out by the leagues.
Interesting. I like the idea better of Cale just saying, I don't care what you think, Heritage, Evergreen, and Union. I'm gonna vote for it. Yeah, that doesn't happen. Darn it.
No, it doesn't.
Well,
So for the history
life would be
nerds
better if they just listened to Cale, right, Tony?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, don't we all agree?
Well, there's no question, Paul. But
I was going to say, for the history nerds, think of less of House of Representatives under the Constitution and more Articles of Confederation, where the states were just voting in blocks. Ooh. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So if you go back to
My mind is blown.
1781,
Tony and that
to
history degree is
Thank you.
really,
well,
yeah.
But that's what it is. The states had block votes.
No,
That's what-
Tony's actually 100% correct, because when I try to explain how the WIAA operates as opposed to how the WIAA operates in Oregon, the comparison is the Articles of Confederation to the Constitution, essentially. I mean, so the American government versus. So we are as a state in how we operate athletically. There is so much local control as far as wanting to make change. The membership is who makes the changes. The WIA doesn't have a lot of power to dictate to the state. They can suggest things that they want to see changed, but ultimately the state has to vote for it and approve it. So the power from that standpoint definitely resides with WIA districts.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I promise you, we're not going to go into that now because there's pros and cons to that system, by the way. There's been some things that have happened to Southwest Washington that I thought the WIA should have stepped in, and they can't, and they won't, or they don't. And it's like, what are you doing? And the OSA does, the
OSA is state-driven.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I won't get into specifics on that. Maybe someday. That'll be interesting. But anyway, so as we talked about the last podcast, the transfer, it's not a transfer portal. We know that, but that's what everyone's making a joke of. Or they're describing it as transfer portal, but it is going to be voted on. Adds an opportunity for students to transfer schools after initially establishing their athletic eligibility at the start of their 9th grade year. That's the wording. Mm-hmm. So it's basically one free move, right? It kind of. I know there's a little bit more to it, but
yes and no. I mean, you would be able to move school, because right now the only reason you can move a school without having to go through an eligibility hearing process is if the entire family unit moves from one address to another address. Yeah. So this would address all the other reasons you might move and say that you can move for these other reasons now one time, and so it's not saying that you're just completely eligible, because right now if you would move, you would miss 100%. If in the sports that you had played within the past calendar year, you would be ineligible for varsity athletics in those sports for another calendar year for 100% of the games. What this is saying is that you would have to sit out 40% of the varsity contests for those sports.
Right.
So if, just to keep the math simple, say you had a 10 season or 10 game season, the first 4 varsity contests in that sport, you would have to pay, you would not be eligible to participate at the varsity level.
But if you played football or basketball and you were awesome, you'd be playing the last 6 games of football, the last 12 for basketball, and then be eligible for playoffs.
Or even if you weren't awesome, Paul, yes, you would still be eligible.
Well, yeah, but nobody's going to care. You're not transferring for athletics to. If you're an athlete and you're transferring because you think, oh, I want to play football over there, or I want to play basketball over there, you don't care about the math class,
right? So there's been a lot of different iterations of this one that have been floated, and there's been a committee that's been working on whatever was going to be brought forward to Rep Assembly to vote on. And this is the version of the amendment, and for all of these amendments, this is the version that they are right now. In January, Rep Assembly meets. There's a meeting. It's called Winter Coalition, where all of the amendments are officially presented by the people who wrote them. Right. And then there's discussion around the amendments, and it is possible for an amendment to be amended on the floor at Winter Coalition. So these amendments, the ones that you end up voting on in April, could be changed in January.
Okay. Also, ladies and gentlemen, we are not going to be asking Cale how he's going to vote. One, he doesn't vote, as he explained. But,
no, I don't.
But we're not going to ask, what he thinks. One, they're not even finalized yet. You're not voting till April, but it would be unfair because Cale is kind of in charge of Evergreen Schools Athletics. Not kind of, you are in charge of Evergreen Athletics. It'd be kind of unfair to ask him, where do you think your AD from Heritage should vote on this? Where do you think your AD from Union should vote on this? So we're not going to do that. But Tony and I can opine, right? I don't know if Tony wants to because he's also in the world. But I guess I'll start it with I'm just. It's out there. All the transferring that's going on anyway, I guess I'd rather it just be legal and there'd be some, I don't know, legal is not the right word, but, within the rules.
Well, legal.
And the consequences are, okay, you still have to sit 40%. So there is, if you're going to move for any reason other. Now, I assume, though, if you move because your whole family moves, you're eligible immediately.
You're still eligible.
That hasn't changed.
And you would still have the ability, if you're moving for another reason, to go through the eligibility process. Instead of getting 100% of the season, you'd be going through that process to get that 40% back for yourself as well.
Got it. So there still are ways. There are ways. But if you just moved one time and didn't even want to go through the eligibility process, you'd get 60% of the games.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. I think I've changed my ways on this. I think for me personally, Paul Valencia, in my opinion, let's go for it. Let's just try it because there's just so much policing and there's so much finger pointing and all this stuff. I don't know. But Tony, I guess, but I just want to say, you can tell in my voice, it's more out of frustration of just let it happen. And I don't, my heart's not behind it, but I just.
Because sometimes, and I think this is the question that I want to ask Cale, and it's around the frustration level, individual ADs. And, I haven't had to work on an eligibility process for 5 years. Have they increased the numbers? You meet twice a month probably, or at least once a month?
I don't know. I would say that the volume probably it might have gone up a bit. What we're seeing way more of is when you go through that initial eligibility hearing and it's denied, we're seeing a much higher rate of then that decision getting appealed to the WIAA. And once it gets appealed to the WIAA, if they've denied it a second time, we're seeing even a much higher rate of people trying to take it into the courts.
Right. Okay. And so my point with that is if we're doing appeals on appeals, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but as soon as you start getting the superintendents involved, then it's out of the athletic director's hand.
Got it.
Right. And that's when again, that's not a bad thing. They're good people, but I'm just saying that you lose some schools' control. And
Keep in mind, I think we discussed this on our last pod too. One of the other rationales behind this is there is some pressure from the state legislature to look at what our eligibility rules are, and what we don't want to do is get in a situation where we're not the ones suggesting the changes, and the changes are being dictated to us,
like Florida.
So that is one of the
That's
other.
always the nightmare for me. I'll be honest.
That's one of the other motivations, and really the main motivation behind the WIAA looking at this and presenting this amendment.
Oh, interesting. But so we'll find out in April if that passes. Again, without knowing what you guys are voting for. I'm not asking that. I guess I'll ask Tony first. Do you think it's going to pass? Do you think that or something along the lines is going to pass?
With the 40% addendum to it, yes.
Okay. And Cale, you can answer if you want, but you don't have to answer if you don't want to.
No, I really don't. Last year when the first one that was run, I didn't think it had in fact, it got withdrawn because it wasn't going to pass, which also can happen with these amendments. Mm-hmm. I think this one has a fighting chance to pass because of all the extenuating circumstances that I did discuss.
Got it.
Now, and also keep in mind, this still does not allow recruiting, so that would still be a violation. Yeah. But it definitely would the slippery slope there would definitely be a factor with this. But recruiting would still be illegal.
I'm shocked, I say, that there's gambling in this establishment. I know I'm blowing that. I know I do not. I'm not saying the line right from the famous movie, but
okay.
But my point is that I'm shocked. Shocked.
Yeah.
There's recruiting.
That's in my shocked face.
No way. All right. So going from that topic to one that is, always brings up some. This will be. I don't know. It's a controversial take. I don't know if it's a controversial take, but it's a controversial subject. Participation in girls' sports would be limited to students assigned female at birth is one of the amendments that the WIA put out there. And associated with that one is athletic programs would be offered separately for boys, girls, and an open division for all students interested. Those are two separate amendments that could be voted on in April. We'll decide on that. So the three of us, had a passionate discussion, last spring. Yeah. An Oregon transgender athlete competed in the girls' track and field championships. And then then we recorded in the week between that and Washington's. And then Washington, we also believe, had one.
They did.
Had one.
Yep,
so,
they did.
And so I would like to remind folks, I've said it in that discussion, we have a child. Me and Jenny, we have a child, and she's now 18 and a graduate from Evergreen High School who's in that world. We love her, and Luna and I have incredible arguments back and forth about sports. I will always defend what I consider traditional girls or women's sports, and she has a different viewpoint on that, and we can do that, and we can disagree lovingly if that's possible. Believe it or not, it happens. I mentioned that. I mentioned that in the podcast before. But there's, I'm going to say it one more time. I got a little in trouble from one of our listeners who said I said it too much. No matter what you think on this subject, do not blame the 15 or 16 or 17-year-olds who are competing, because by rule in Oregon and by rule in Washington, they are allowed to. It is not. So please don't boo them. And I won't say it 100 times like I did that one podcast, but I do like the progress of people at least making these discussions and having it out there. I don't know if you can even enforce the first rule, but I do like the fact that someone's thinking out there, and there is a reason why we have boys and girls sports separated at a certain age. Now, I don't care about the 6-7-year-olds who are playing baseball or soccer together, but eventually when you get into high school, especially at the varsity level, there is a difference between boys and girls, men and women. But Cale, your thoughts on the amendment at first and what we talked about earlier.
Well, this is obviously a hot topic, not just within the state of Washington and high school athletics. I mean, this is a national issue that's being discussed, and I would venture a guess at some point there's going to be some federal legislation, whether that comes from the Department of Education or wherever it comes from. that's going to address or attempt to address this. The one thing that I will say about both of these amendments is if they were to pass, they run in direct conflict with Washington state law. So enforcing either one of these amendments, well, first of all, the Second Amendment just creates the open division, but according to Washington state law, we couldn't force an athlete to participate in the open division, and just like we couldn't force an athlete under the First Amendment that you discussed to participate in their biological where their biological gender would place them. Mm-hmm. So, if they were to pass, that is going to create some work for the WIAA itself to do in regards to our state government and how the response would come from that. Because, like I said, these run, if they were to pass, they would run in direct conflict to Washington state law, and there are. I know the WIA has already been having some conversations around this, and their legal counsel not only obviously says, well, you can't break Washington state law, but there are even stiffer penalties if you knowingly break a law. So if you know that this is in direct conflict with Washington state law and you do it, the penalty that you would receive potentially would be much more severe.
So it's a lot more difficult for these amendments and the voting part of it, and then actually making it a WIA rule that meets the eye. It's not some simple thing like, even Clark County today, I believe we had an opinion piece on it. Hey, the WIA is doing this, and I didn't write that piece, but anyway, it's not so simple as, should the WIA adopt this? Because there are so many other layers to it. Even if they do adopt it, they may never, or even if they pass the vote, it may not be adopted.
It may not be
adoptable
because it's going to run. It's going to be in the state of Washington. It would be illegal.
School districts will not violate district or state law.
Yeah,
they won't do it.
So it's a tough one. So even if you believed, and I don't mean you personally,
sure.
Phil,
yeah.
Even if the voter believed, we want to do this. We want to protect traditional girls' sports. And at the high school level, that's probably a good idea where to start. If you believe that, and even if you want to vote on it to say, let's protect traditional girls' sports, it still might not be adoptable. That's because of state law. I just wanted to double check that's what you guys, the experts, are telling me, and it's fascinating. But I do like that the discussion is out there at least. And I promise, at least from my perspective, it's not about hate or phobia or anything like that. I've learned a lot about this world in the last 4 or 5 years, and there are some wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people. And I can tell you my child has a heart of gold. So I respect her decision. I mean, I respect her, not decision, her voice in these matters. Yeah. And so it's not so simple for me to just say one way or the other either. But yeah, so she and I disagree on some of these things, but no, it's going to be fast. I do appreciate, though, that people are talking about it at the state level. All right, well, moving on to, I guess, less important things, at least politically, but we got another amendment that's going to increase contests in baseball and softball, and another one in soccer. What are the pros and cons to increasing the regular season for these sports, Cale?
There've been attempts to run amendments for many sports. Basketball's kind of been the main driver behind a lot of this, but with baseball, softball, soccer, tennis, I mean. The state of Washington is woefully behind the rest of the country in the number of contests that we allow in our sports seasons. And so the cons to these are it can make scheduling a little more challenging because you have to find dates to play these extra games. But we are, like, in the state of Oregon, I think baseball, softball-wise, they might be at 24. Right. And in basketball, I think they're at 25 26. I'm
Yeah.
not certain what the number is. And when you talk to ADs in Oregon, they don't fill the entire schedule because of some of the constraints. But what our number of games precludes are just competitive opportunities maybe outside the state for our teams. It's harder to go to a large tournament and play multiple games. And Camas was able to do it. Camas was forced to do that in their girls basketball last year because nobody in the state would play them.
Right.
And we have such a small league that they had to fill their schedule. But if you're in an 8, 9, 10 team league, you have very little flexibility in the scheduling outside of that league schedule that you're looking at competing in. So there has been some grassroots efforts to push these amendments for a long time. And for whatever reason, they keep getting voted down. In Southwest Washington, we have supported these amendments for a long time. So this is just kind of another bite of the apple, another attempt to get these limits changed. But yeah, when you look at where the state of Washington is in comparison to the rest of the country and the number of contests we allow for football is what football is. You're constrained by the calendar there.
Yeah, 9 or 10.
I mean, you're not playing multiple games a week.
Right.
Unless you're trying to get the pigtail game.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So in these situations, giving schools the flexibility to be able to play more contests. I'm really not certain why we haven't been able to pass this yet, but hopefully this is a step in the right direction.
Right. Tony?
Yeah, I think the key word there is flexibility. As a building AD, I would not want to try to schedule, the spring season or any season is just super packed. And then you are playing sometimes maybe 6 games in 11 days or depending on the sport or just something like that. However, the importance of the tournaments now, a lot of top teams, top programs like to do the tournaments. And, as an AD, I loved when my coaches said, hey, we're going to go get 4 games here. We're going to fundraise. We're going to go play in this tournament. Perfect. 4 games over 4 days that I don't have to schedule a bus for or whatever, I mean, honestly, that's, you guys knock yourself out. How can I support you? Right. And so that's I think important is the flexibility piece that Cale mentioned.
And as Cale pointed out, we're hoping to increase the number of games, but it's not a minimum. You could still not hit if you can't find the games, you can't find the games.
And it's because of those big tournaments, right? Some of them are a couple weekends. Right.
Here's another one, a safety issue, but violations of the baseball pitch count would cause the head coach to be suspended in the same manner as if he were ejected. If you get ejected in any high school sporting event, you miss the next game, right? Coach or player, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
So in this case, I know I did a quick transition there to move on to the next one what do you guys think of that? I just think that's interesting because that's just one sport and one thing because that's the only sport that we have like a pitch count on.
No, it's the only sport we have that rule, and it directs the penalty at the person who's supposed to be the one monitoring how many pitches have been thrown. I mean, that's the reality.
I think, it makes sense. I want to know why somebody put that in. So clearly there was.
I was just about to ask how many has it been happening a lot where. Oh, I don't know we'll call 75 pitches is the pitch. I don't know what the count is, but we'll say 75. And has it been happening a lot where somebody gets 77, 78 and oops, my bad. Oh, I won't do that again, but it keeps happening. What's going on? What's going on, Cale? Our baseball coaches can't count?
We have not seen that issue in Southwest Washington.
Look at that.
Our league's had some pretty good systems for doing that. So.
No,
typically we try to hire individuals who can count. That would be a qualifier.
Or at least get a clicker. Coach, can you get the...
Yes. So I was going to make fun of some baseball coaches who I know have issues. No, I won't go into that. I love you guys. You know that. There's probably a couple of baseball coaches who need an assistant coach to count the pitches.
You're getting some hate mail right now. I tell you that much.
That's awesome. All right. So another sport, a new sport perhaps. But an amendment would sanction girls' flag football as a high school sport. I can tell you our friend Albert, who used to work at Vancouver Schools, Mr. Alcantar, he's living in Nevada now, and they have girls' flag football in his state, and they love it. So, but girls' flag football, did it try? Was it did it try last year? Or so? Was there an amendment last year? And
And it failed.
It failed. So I don't know what has changed on something like this. What changes to bring it back the next year?
Just more dialogue. People have had a chance and a whole another year to talk about it and talk about the pros and cons, and so people's opinions can change.
I would imagine then that means, Tony, wouldn't you think that means they have a better chance the second year, the second time they try it? Tony, what do you think?
Not always, but again, I think where this sport would be installed, so to speak, what season is the big driver.
And we did talk about that last year.
There's a lot of logistics.
It becomes a facility challenge, and so imagine. I mean, the last few days here, the season that it most easily is run is winter. But these last couple of days, I don't know if you'd want to be outside playing flag football, Paul. I'm
going to guess there wouldn't be a huge spectator presence.
The fields are open because it's 35 degrees and raining.
Right. Not in Evergreen Public Schools, because we run middle school soccer.
That's right. You do now.
And the reason we run middle school soccer at that time is because we can put it on turf and we can have lights. So
it's funny.
Our middle school soccer players are tough, man.
I live near McKenzie Stadium, and I see the lights on at all months of the year, and I'm like, what are they doing? It's 37 degrees and it's rain is coming sideways. What are they doing over there?
We have kids playing. That could be an argument against the point I was just making. I mean, if you build it, they will come. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, here's an amendment. I am way behind. I'm behind me. I'm supportive of this one. If at any point after 50 minutes of playing a soccer match, one team is up by 8 goals or more, the match is over. It's the mercy rule for soccer. Yeah. I love it. What do you think, Tony?
10 minutes in the second half. It's 8-zip.
Yeah.
After 50. Yeah.
Yeah, that's 50. That's 56-0 in football.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
That's 100 points in football. Easily.
We definitely need, and whether this one gets amended on the floor, I don't know. But yeah, we need something for soccer, and we have needed something for soccer for quite some time.
And I've always thought that, and it's also if you want to play the whole 80 minutes. You can still work on stuff fundamentally in soccer.
Yeah.
Passing,
Just don't score another goal.
Just don't try to score. No one's making. There's no shot clock. Yeah. You don't have to try to score. But a long time ago, we've had 12, 13, 14 nothing matches in soccer, and it's like, oh my gosh,
it's not good for anybody.
No, it isn't. So, Tony,
No.
You want to say something off after we press off on the recording? We would never say anything off recording that we couldn't use.
Are we recording right now? I'm just
kidding. All right. So those are the amendments. Everyone. Hey, we got change the subject. It is winter sports now. Hey, welcome winter sports. Remember 2 weeks ago, winter sports had started, but not to us because it was still football season.
Football season.
That's not true to me.
That's
Paul.
not true.
Winter sports.
That's true for yourself. I watched the Trappers play.
Exactly. Yeah. The athletic directors and those guys have to act like it was football. It was basketball season. But anyway, well, I guess at Evergreen Schools there wasn't football season in December.
Wow.
Ooh.
There wasn't in VPS either. You're not taking a shot at Tony. Jeez.
That's true too. But Tony didn't try to lie to our listeners and tell me that it was winter season last week.
I would never lie to our listeners, Paul.
Anyway,
to you, yes.
We so over the Christmas break or winter break or whatever break you want to call it, we've got 2 pretty cool things going on. Mountain View Holiday Invite Basketball is December 26th through 28th. I assume at Mountain View, since it's the Mountain View Invite. Yes, no, but Columbia River, Evergreen, Union, Ridgefield, and Mountain View are the local teams playing in it. Okay. And Tony, this used to be the Fort Vancouver
This used to be the Trapper Tournament, and we had a loyal staff member that helped Coach Ensley, Ben Jados, helped Coach Ensley organize all that. And
shout out to Ben.
Yes, and then when Coach Ensley moved to Battleground, so did the. I guess the Trapper Tournament didn't go out to Battleground. We were done with that.
Right.
It's a lot of legwork to organize a tournament, and Ben, and our new coach was just like, maybe not this year.
Right. Right. So
just getting his feet under him.
But what I love about it, so again, shout out to Ben Jados, though, is he made it happen.
Big time.
And now it is continuing in Clark County, even if another school is taken over.
Right.
So good luck, Mountain View, on hosting this. But it's a pretty cool thing, and it's because for years and years and years, all basketball teams had to go somewhere else for these tournaments, and now we have some, and we have I think Benson is coming.
Oh, good.
I think it's Benson.
I didn't see the field yet.
I don't have, but there's a couple teams coming in from other places, and that's great. And of course, in another sport, wrestling, we've always had the Pac Coast Wrestling Championships. Did I say that right?
You did. Yeah, you got it.
And it used to be at Evergreen Fieldhouse, then they renovated that. They moved it, I think, to Hudson's Bay for a while.
It's been at Bay for a while.
Yep. And the last couple of years now, it is at the Clark County Event Center. It started last year at the Clark County Event Center, and it's back there this year. So it's huge, prestigious tournament. Sunday, yeah. We'll sell you the whole bleacher, but you'll only need it doesn't work with bleachers, does it? We'll sell you the whole seat, but you'll only need the edge. So anyway, that's the greatest marketing campaign ever. That commercial. So anyway, prestigious tournament features more than 65 schools. Some 60 boys teams and 45 girls teams are expected to compete. So that's December 27th and 28th at the Clark County Event Center. So best of luck to everyone organizing the basketball and wrestling. And so high school sports fans, winter sports fans, they don't have to go. They don't have to leave the area to go see some great action.
Some good hoops and wrestling for sure.
It's going to be cool. All right, college and pro sports. We always end with that, or we try to. Let's see. On this day, was it today that we found out that
Coach Diekert
is leaving Washington
this
State,
morning,
right? Yeah,
this morning, 7:45 a.m.
So
evidently,
I made the joke that they're losing a coach the old-fashioned way. What? More prestige and a better conference. That's how it used to be done. Because the last time they lost a coach was because they forced them to take an experimental shot or something like that. That doesn't help with healthy people. There, right? I'm trying to troll my audience here.
You can say a better conference now, but I don't think you can say more prestige, because when you look at the history of Washington State Cougar football and Wake Forest Demon Deacon football, I don't think it's even close which program has more prestige.
Didn't Brian Piccolo go to Wake Forest?
Did he?
I don't know.
I don't know. I think that's the song.
You going Brian's song on us right now?
Yeah, I went Brian's song on you.
Wow.
Original Brian's song.
Wow.
Yes,
not
correct.
the stuff that
correct. The original's the best.
But Coach Dickert, I mean, he's not going to even be close to the most famous coach in the state of North Carolina now.
That's true too.
He's going to definitely be in that Chapel Hill shadow.
When I met prestige, I met they're at least in a conference.
But again, it's Wake Forest football.
I know.
And I get that
they're in a conference that gets an automatic bid to the playoffs.
Right.
Yeah, that's the case.
And that's a big deal.
Okay, but Clemson, Florida State, Miami.
Yeah. I know.
It's not.
I'm not. Yeah. Hey. Yeah. And what? The Oregon State coach last year went to Michigan State.
Michigan State.
Which, has been good sometimes, but hasn't been in a long time, right? So, but
you do understand. I mean, it's just in the current state of college football, it's very, very difficult for schools like Oregon State and Washington State in the situation that they're in to be able to compete. I mean,
and I hate it. I hate what happened.
They're a farm system.
I absolutely hate what happened to both of them, and I hate what happened. Yeah, I mean, I think of things like Oregon State, and they just renovated their stadium, expecting USC to show up every 2 years, expecting and
there's going to have to be some self-correction in college athletics, but college football specifically, because this is just kind of the president did come out today and say that they fully expect to honor their commitment to the Holiday Bowl, but you lost your offensive coordinator, your defensive coordinator, your head coach.
Right.
And you had 20 kids who were already in the portal. So how many more kids are going to get into the portal now that Dicker's gone? And how are you gonna field the team?
Right. Was it Marshall that had to bow out of their bowl game because they fired a very popular coach, and the players said, "Well, then we're leaving too."
Yeah. Well, no, they didn't fire him. They just didn't rehire him.
Oh, that is a good distinction,
because he took a different job. He took the Southern Miss job. So they just didn't offer him a contract.
Right.
His contract had expired.
Well, that's true. That's an Al Davis move right there. So I got to respect it. We didn't fire Mike White. The season ended, and he was no longer under contract.
Right. Your 3-year deal.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. But all of this craziness has led to 12-team college football playoff. Yeah. So that's starting.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. Will I watch? Absolutely. Do I care? To an extent, I care.
I know you want Oregon to lose.
That is absolutely.
You're not necessarily rooting for somebody. You're just rooting against.
My favorite team is whoever is playing Oregon. Oregon. And you know what? By the way, we'll get into crying about the Raiders in a minute too, but this has the potential to be the absolute worst football year of my life.
I know where you're going.
The
yes.
Raiders could finish 2-15, 3-14 at best, and three AFC West teams are going to make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And the Ducks are the best team in the country.
I think the Ducks they are pretty good.
So Duck fans out there who are mad at me for saying I want you to lose, it's a sports hate. I don't really hate you, and I respect. I love your coach. I love that Oregon coach. I every time I hear him talk, I love him. But I'm just not a Duck guy. So
but here's the thing that you have
lose.
going for you, Paul, within going against the Ducks, and that's the NCAA, because they created the most idiotic system and how to seed a tournament, so that if you were actually seeded fifth, you probably have theoretically you have to win an extra game. But if you win that extra game at home, you get a much better draw in the quarterfinals and the semifinals than the team who's seeded number one.
See, you've totally looked into this a lot more than I have. I just see who's playing Oregon in the second week. That's who I'm rooting for. That's all I see.
They're going to be Tennessee or Ohio State.
Ohio State lost on purpose to Michigan to get the fifth seed, is what Kel's implying.
I don't know if that's true, but
interesting.
but yeah. So the fifth seed.
Who is the fifth seed?
Ohio State.
No. They're 8.
Oh, because they did lose to Michigan.
Yeah,
that's right.
So the fifth seed, I think,
is it Penn State? No.
Yes. Yeah, it's Penn State or Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Let me look real quick.
So they get to if you win your first round game, you get to play Boise State. So who would you rather, if you were Oregon, who would you rather be playing in that quarter? Now, granted, Boise State already gave them all that they could handle at home,
right?
But theoretically, I think if you gave them their choice, you want to play Boise State or Ohio State or Tennessee,
right?
I think they take Boise State.
I get you on that. It's all about me though. So back to
Penn
me.
State,
No, this is awful. I mean, if the Chiefs win 3 in a row, and the Raiders are last place, and the other 2 AFC West teams make the playoffs, and the Oregon Ducks win the national title, you might not see me for a few months. I might need to go into.
Well, and then Luna comes home wearing a Chiefs jersey.
Oh no,
then,
no. Now that I don't know if she's going to be happy if I tell you this joke, but
I think you've already said it on this podcast.
Have I said it on the podcast? I did. Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
I know I've told you guys personally, but yes, that was the day that she told us that she thinks she's in the wrong body, and hey. We love our children, and we want our children to be happy and thrive, and we're doing the best we can with all of this stuff. But I did say that you'll always be welcome in this house unless you are Chiefs, Chargers, or Broncos fan. That's my line. That's when I kick you out.
Find your own rent.
Yes, exactly. And now she's 18, so it's okay. She can, if she wants to be a fan of somebody else, she can. She just can't. She just can't live in our house. So. That's for real. But no, honestly though, no, I would. Oh gosh, that would be the worst football year of my life if that happens. And I must acknowledge, I got to be open minded to it, that it could happen. And Oregon is awesome, and I love your coach. I just will always root for the Ducks to lose. I'm a Beaver believer, and I'm one of those guys that believes that you always root against your rival. So that's how I am in sports. I don't like. It's not that I don't like them. I don't understand Cubs and White Sox fans. I've never understood Giants and A's fans, things like that.
Right.
Jets and Giants fans. I don't understand people who can root for both. I just Yankees, Mets, anything like that. So I'm a Beaver, so that means I root against the Ducks. That's how I go. So
that's it.
But anyway, hey, I wanted to get to my flaw of the system. You guys are much smarter. You talked about seeding and fifth and all that stuff. My flaw is I think Oregon and Boise State, whoever is in the top 4, should somehow get a home game. But they got to go to bowl games, which is, good. Yeah, is Oregon, I'm assuming, is in the Rose Bowl, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so good for them, whatever. But I just think it's weird that but four teams do get a home game, but no, they have to play an extra game, but they get a home game. And I think Eugene and I think Boise earn a true home game. I wish those games would be home.
Go to 16 teams.
Yeah.
If you go
And
to
that's what I was
16,
gonna say.
everybody gets a home game.
That was the
yeah.
argument I heard.
So I'm rooting for that to be the next change, to go to 16 teams.
Well, they will. There's so much money involved.
I know, but it's not just because of the money, because I don't care. Money's not coming to me. I just think the fan base deserves a home game.
Oh, 100%. But it's also really strange that how we've tried to maintain the bowl structure in general, right? I mean, there's going to be a bunch of other bowl games on that no one's going to really care about anymore.
Right.
But those are businesses. So, I mean, that is where the rubber kind of meets the road a little bit, is trying to manage those businesses. Now, what I will say, did you hear the story about the Oregon season ticket seller or season ticket holders, and then the process for purchasing tickets to the Rose Bowl?
No,
I
did a little, but
the University of Oregon released the tickets, and it was based off of where your seats were. Like, so how expensive your seats were, there were waves of when you could get in to buy them, but what they didn't do was limit the number of seats you could purchase. So there were people who had paid, have more expensive season tickets, who just started buying up all of the University of Oregon's allotment, and some would say they were doing that so because they know on the secondary market they're going to be able to make a buck. But yeah, so if you had, let's say you had 4 season tickets to the University of Oregon and they were really on the 50-yard line, 20 rows up, well, you could buy 20, 30 tickets if you wanted to, as opposed to just being able to buy the 4 that at least until everybody had gone through the process. So yeah, there were people who didn't have the most expensive tickets were like, they're sold out. I didn't even get a chance.
There's another reason to root against the Oregon Ducks. They don't even care about their fans. So I guess I'll retract my statement. They don't deserve a home game. They don't even care about their fans.
And it is Notre Dame that's the 5th seed. I said Penn State.
That's an interesting game Friday night. Indiana at Notre Dame.
I love that.
And they've only played
schools,
they've only played like twice in the last. Like they don't play well because Indiana is usually really, really bad.
Yeah.
And so Notre Dame doesn't have any interest. But that's good. And it's supposed to be below freezing. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And they're doing their black uniforms for the first time.
I'm going to be watching it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Ooh, this is a good transition. Tony, you did it. You did it again. You didn't even know it because we're going to NFL and Seahawks. Speaking of uniforms.
All right.
Oh,
you didn't like
this is why the Seahawks lost, because their uniforms were, you just couldn't even see them out there. So their quarterback couldn't even throw on the ball, right? Because wait a minute. No, you could see them. You could see them from space. Those uniforms you could see from space. Oh my gosh. Kale, you're a Seahawks fan. Can you defend it? I guess not. I guess
Action green is the worst thing.
Action green? That's what they call it?
That's what it's called.
Okay.
Action green.
Not vomit.
No,
not vomit green?
It looks it looks like vomit green. It is atrocious. And we got rid of it, so you can only have 4 uniforms. Right? You can only have 4. So we have the white and the regular white and blue, and you can make different combinations. Then we finally got the best uniform ever in football.
The throwback.
The blue throwbacks. And we dumped the wolf. We had a wolf gray uniform.
I love the gray for Seahawks.
And we dumped that to keep the action green abomination.
We were at Mandalay Bay watching that game, and we were at a restaurant actually, and the waiter came up and said, "What is that? Is that that looks like an XFL team?" And it was not a compliment. It was not a compliment.
It should never be a compliment.
So, anyway, and then they lost, and so sorry that they lost, but at least you still are in the playoff hunt, which is more than I can say about my team. Anyway, the Raiders are the Raiders still, and it's not looking good. But it's still fun to go to the games because we went Monday night football, and it was.
Yeah.
We have no idea how that game wasn't flexed out of Monday Night Football, because you can flex the Monday night games now in December.
Right.
And I don't know why it wasn't, but
because there were 2.
Because there were 2 games, and they were both. I mean,
neither one
was a good matchup. So I don't know why either one was flexed, but I'm glad because I like going to the night games, even if you're in a dome. It's Legion Stadium, not technically a dome, but it's a closed stadium. But it's still a better vibe at night. So I like going to those games, but. And we're just counting the days for next year already for the Raiders.
98 days to opening day.
There's 2 more home games. I'm going to at least one more because I have to have 2 more flights this calendar year to keep my status for my rewards points.
Oh, there you go.
And that is a big deal when you travel as much as I do for these games. So,
Sure.
So yay, Raiders! I'm keeping my rewards points. So anything else? We've talked an hour. We've had another blast.
We could talk about the Mariners.
I forgot about the Mariners.
But they haven't done anything.
So there's nothing to talk about, which is something to talk about.
They are the meme that the guy with the stick going, do something, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you fans for the Mariners like?
Yeah,
do something? But
it's
have they signed anybody of note?
Do they still have a baseball team in Seattle?
I don't know. Jerry DePoto just kicking back and
who knows?
Cancun.
Hey, maybe the Portland Diamond is the Portland Diamond project trying to get Major League Baseball. Maybe they can get the Mariners to move to Portland.
Well, if there's an owner that wants to spend money,
yes, spend some money because you don't have to spend any money on your pitching right now. So you should be loading up. But no, we're not going to do that.
Okay, a little bitterness there. Happy New Year, everybody!
Thank you.
So the next time we do the podcast will be after the year is passed. We'll be in 2025 at our next recording, and hopefully, Cale and Tony will feel a little bit better about the Mariners by then.
Well, we'll see if they sign anybody. And I don't mean the 40-year-old switch hitting first baseman, who's a great clubhouse guy, but
that doesn't move the needle.
No. Just real quick.
Yeah.
Is there an NFL game Thursday? No, not this Thursday.
Yeah.
Is there?
Yeah, there is.
So is it Thursday through? Isn't there like 28 straight days of a football game or something? Like a big.
I can't. There's Thursday night football.
There's Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Wednesday,
but Friday's the
Thursday.
CFP though. That's what I mean. Like if you go big games.
Yeah. There's Thursday night football, and then there's Friday college football, and then there's Saturday 3 college football games, plus there's 2 NFL games. 2 or 3 NFL games on Saturday. And then Sunday, Monday, and then Wednesday, Christmas Day, we have 2 NFL games because the NFL, a couple of years ago, Christmas, well, I might have been the last 2 years, Christmas fell on like a Sunday and a Monday or something like that. So it was like still part of the schedule. And the NFL realized, oh my gosh, people love watching football on Christmas Day. And it just killed the NBA.
Just destroying it.
Well,
the NBA is like, oh, well, at least we still get Christmas Day. And the NFL is like, hold my beer.
Exactly.
I'll take this from you, too.
And then the NBA thought, oh, well, Christmas is going to be Wednesday this year. There's no way the NFL will do that.
Guess
hold my beer again.
Here's the entire keg. We are taking this from you.
Yes.
So I'm interested to see how the Netflix broadcast is for that.
Oh, yes.
Because the Christmas Day games are just Netflix.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not a big fan of the Amazon Prime games just yet. Just the way my TV and my streaming works. I mean, it doesn't skip, but it's just the sound isn't good.
I like to channel surf.
Yeah, that's the
big
problem.
Surf on the stream.
Yeah, so it is a bummer.
I'm gonna have to set up another TV somewhere, huh?
But
I do have a Red Zone.
I do. I will say this that in our family the NFL schedule is more important than whatever dinner schedule is for Christmas Day or Thanksgiving for that matter. So I mean, we will still gather. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But the game will be on. The games will be on.
I have zero issue with that. I love it.
Awesome. Well, I didn't think we'd get more than we talked for a long time. Hope you're still with us, everybody. We love doing this. This is the Clark County Today Sports Podcast, and I guess we're signing off for 2024. It sounds weird. Cale, say goodbye.
See you in 2025.
Tony?
Thank you for listening.
Yep. Take care, everybody.